Welcome everybody to another Faith-Free Family Moments. We've been digging in James chapter 4 and been challenging a lot. I mean, last time we talked about, we can't presume about the future. We have limited knowledge. We have limited control over it. We have limited abilities. And so we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. We can make plans, but we need to commit them to the Lord because we don't know what tomorrow holds. And so it challenges us to live today. What do we know God wants us to do? What does God want us to do today? That comes the challenge of it, right? And so instead of assuming, let's read a couple verses. Here's how we should live. Evaluate yourself. Instead, in other words, instead of presuming or assuming, here's how we are to live. You ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and also do this or that. But as it is, you boast in your arrogance, and all such boasting is evil. Therefore, to one who knows the right thing to do and does not do it, to him it's sin. So there's a way to live, and there's a way not to live. We're not to presume, but James also says there's a perspective on life that causes us to either live the right way or to not live the right way. Years ago, there was a movie called Last of the Mohicans. Nathaniel, this was a brave man in that case, and he'd captured the heart of a beautiful woman named Cora. With tremendous courage and cunning, he rescued her from an ambush that actually had been set by the black-hearted Magua leader of a warring tribe. So Nathaniel leads Cora and her sister, and there were actually a couple other survivors there, to a hidden cave behind a waterfall. And just when it appears they're going to escape and live happily ever after, right then, Magua and his troops, his savages, discover their hideout. Well, they're captured, and once captured, the women will be spared, but the men executed. With no powder for their rifles, Nathaniel's only chance is to leap from the falls. And by saving himself, he will live to rescue Cora another day. Now, one of the other men calls him a coward, accusing him of selfish motives. How's Cora feeling? What looks like abandonment might not be. You see, her only hope in the face of such wildness lies in the good of Nathaniel's heart. It's all she has to go on. It's all we get to go on, is the goodness of God's heart. We should instead ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and also do this or that. How can someone live like that when they trust his heart? We can say, if God wills this to happen tomorrow or in a year, then that's what I'm going to do. And I can do that, and I can wait for God's will because his heart is good. I might not understand it, but his heart's good. And I'm going to do whatever it is he wills because his heart is good. And so, instead of assuming or presuming, we are to say, if the Lord wills. Now, notice what it says. It's not generic. James is saying, if the Lord, Kyrios, ultimate authority, that's the one who says it. If the Lord wills, the all-powerful, the one who has all rule and all authority, he has the right to determine to rule. If he says, that's the point. If the Lord wills, I guess that's the contrast. We presume, you can do that. You can presume, or you can say, if the Lord wills. And by the way, if we go all the way back into James 4, that's the Lord you said you were going to submit to, remember? The one you're going to draw near to? That Lord, if he says he wills, then we ought to do that. And we ought to live that way. And so if the Lord wills, in other words, my next moment, my fondest dream, my coming tomorrow is all contingent on the simple but solemn truth, God willing. Because you know what presuming does, I think? It ducks issues. It ducks the issue of meaning. It ducks the issue of frailty. Ducks the issue of significance. But if the Lord wills, it changes everything. It means if the Lord wills, there's meaning, there's purpose, God just doesn't do things just for the heck of it. No, there's purpose, there's meaning. If the Lord wills, that means if I die, it's gain. I mean, it's not a wasted life. There's purpose behind it, and there's a future. If God wills, if the Lord wills, that means there's significance because he willed it, and his heart is good. And so that's a loaded statement when we read, we will live, we'll do this or that, is what James said. Some people choose to live. Don't live like that. You're to pursue God, not presume. And part of pursuing him is to live that sense of if the Lord wills. You see, God measures time against eternity. That's why life's like a vapor. God has a perspective that's different than ours. He has an eternal perspective. And what he wants to do is cause us and allow us and empower us to live a life here that has an eternal impact in people's lives. God doesn't, God's not too bent out of shape the size of your bank account. And he might increase your wealth so you can impact eternity by giving towards missionaries and investing in kingdom work. And so God thinks in terms of eternity. That's why if the Lord wills, that's why we ought to live that way. We ought to live with that mind. We will live and do this or that if that's what God wills. And so instead of presuming, acknowledge. Don't be one who's arrogant and boastful, because all such boasting is evil because it claims independence. Here, it's contrast to what he said. If the Lord wills, boasting says, I don't care. I will. And that's why all boasting is evil, because it goes all the way back to Satan, where you read in the Old Testament where he said, I will, I will, I will. And you can see it already. That's demonic. And so if the Lord wills, or if you will, what's going to be your choice? If you choose what you will, that's boasting. That's arrogant. It says you know better than God. And so all planning is done. If we acknowledge God wills, then all planning is done in light of providence. And if we act according to that, because we know it, and we do what's right, that's obedience. If we know what's right and don't do it, James says, it's sin. If you know you're to live a certain way, obedience and submission to God, that's obedience. If you know you're supposed to live that way and don't, that's sin. That's what he's saying right there. Therefore, to the one who knows the right thing to do, which he's just talked a bunch about, to the one who knows the right thing to do and does not do it, to him it's sin. And so James is real simple. Read back through the chapter. If you know to do this, which he's told them, and you don't do it, it's sin. It's just really, really simple. And so James 4, and I feel guilty like we've hardly even scratched the surface of this, but boy, it's challenging. And so if I could wrap it up, willingly submit to God this day. Submit to his authority. Submit to his plan. And as best as possible, don't be distracted by too much about tomorrow or by what other people are doing. In other words, don't judge them. Stay locked in on God, drawing near to him. And the more you draw near to him, the clearer his plans become. It certainly seems true in my life anyways. And so draw near to him in this moment. Work it through as best you can. Place yourself before him. And may it be a daily laying on the altar saying, God, here's my life. And this day I willingly submit to you. And make that a day-by-day choice. And I know if you and I choose that, we're going to be blessed by God. And he's going to continue to use us for his kingdom and his purposes and his pleasure. Thanks for joining. Have a great day, everybody. God bless.